And yes, here we are once again, my fine feathered friends. It is the spoiler room. I'm Mark, the movie man, and so glad you could venture down the stairs, pulling up a chair, and talking movies with us tonight. And let me tell you, as I started off this month, I said space vampires. Harder genre than you might think to find films in. So tonight, we had to go all the way back to 1966 for tonight's film. And I have a wonderful crew with me to talk the Queen of Blood. First off, he is back with us from parts unknown, the filmmaker extraordinaire himself, the lovely Andrew Shearer. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm good, man. It's an honor to be in such great company. Do people see the squares when they watch this video?
When they watch it live, yeah, absolutely.
All right, here, I'm gonna poke Mark first. 1, 2, 3. Boom.
Ah.
Man, that was a slow ass reaction.
It was.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Just trying to do a little Brady Bunch.
It's a little Brady Bunch.
Here's a story about the Queen of Blood.
Who doesn't show up for an hour in the film. Anyway.
Is that how this is going to go?
No, not at all.
You, Andrew?
Not at all. And yes, you hear her as well. She is with us tonight. Once again, the fantastic, multi-talented Angelique. Hello, Angelique.
Hello.
So glad to have you fine folk in the room tonight to talk 1966 Queen of Blood. And Mr. Shearer, since it's been a little while since you've been in the spoiler room, you get the fine honor to give the synopsis of Queen of Blood, if you'd care to.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Queen of Blood. Well, yeah, she doesn't show up for a while, but it's worth it.
Absolutely.
She's out there in space. They get a signal talking about, oh, we're aliens and our ship is going to crash. And they're like, oh, well, we'll help you and stuff. And then, the aliens are like, oh, well, it's too late. We're already dead. And well, we can save one. Okay, cool. Oops.
Roll credits.
Roll credit. And scene.
Hey, man, come on. I did all right.
You did. That was
the reality of this is the director, basically Roger Corman bought a couple of Russian science fiction movies and wanted to take all the special effects and then write scenes around them pretty much. And so the Queen of Blood is structured around some really great Russian special effects, but it also has some wonderful actors. You've got Dennis Hopper in here, who's barely stifling his laughter because he's high as a kite.
What?
Yeah, I know that's a surprise. Dennis Hopper occasionally, and then you've got Basil Rathbone. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Who,
absolutely.
Absolutely thought everybody was completely unprofessional, and was just like, I'll be in my trailer for the rest of my goddamned life because of you, Dennis Hopper. Who else is in it? Who am I missing? Who's
John
Saxon, Freddie, Nancy
Yeah.
Thompson's dad.
Yeah.
This is before he became sheriff.
Yeah, this was. I mean, think of the downgrade, dude. Shit. What did he do in between this and that to become sheriff of Springwood, Ohio? Where was it? Springwood, Mississippi? Too long.
Springfield, Illinois, I believe it was.
Point being, it was a little downgrade for him. But this is a not lost classic, but an underrated space vampire movie.
Yeah, you know what? I totally agree. This is the first time I've actually watched this film all the way through. I'd seen bits and pieces of it because of the people were in it, but I'll agree. I've seen commentary on this film, and I'm like, what movie did you watch? Because as far as 60s sci-fi B horror, sci-fi horror or whatever goes, this is decent. I mean, I enjoyed it. I'm like watching it. I was expecting. What's funny is I was expecting the extraordinary camp. Corman executive produced this. He also produced another space vampire film we reviewed earlier in the year, which was Not of This Earth. So I was kind of expecting, just kind of that cheese camp level, and I'm watching going, nah, there's actually some weight and some stuff here. There's some really cool stuff here. Yeah, the sets of that are low budget, but yeah, I was impressed. What about you, Angelique?
I was highly impressed. I actually really enjoyed watching this movie because it was just Technicolor fun. You can't beat a green and bright red set. I mean,
Yeah.
once you see that color combination, you know you've got a winner on your hands.
The Art Deco was strong in this one. But reading up, I didn't read about anything before the film. I read afterwards, and what Andrew was saying, yeah, most of the special effects are from a Russian movie. And they looked good for 66. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Be good now. I thought they were awesome.
I mean, Andrew, you are a filmmaker extraordinaire. Love your work. And some of the stuff that they do in here for 66, the camera work, what'd you think of that? I mean,
it was great. These people know how to shoot miniatures and sets to make them look realistically huge. That is the thing that I think, having watched Jungle Cruise over the weekend, I feel like CGI still doesn't get quite right the actual weight of real objects. But here you're talking models. You guys seen the Phil Tippett documentary? Or not the Phil Tippett. What was that guy's name that made God thing? What's his name? You know what I'm talking about? The guy, the special effects guy.
Well, there's Phil
Harryhausen?
Tippett is Stan Winston or Ray Harryhausen or
this anyway. The
Okay.
One of the ILM guys. They just knew they shot things and they just looked real, even though it's a model hanging from the ceiling. It's just in the way you shoot it. And these people shot excellently. They lit it excellently. I mean, if you're expecting to see some corny crap, I promise you, man, if they cut these scenes of these effects into a new trailer of something and then shot like people and downgraded the footage to match it, people would be like, this is the next great thing. They would love it. I was blown away by it, and I have seen it a couple of times. I'm just like, you seen Planet of the Vampires? Mario Bava?
Yeah.
That one always gets talked about
Yeah.
by it. So, the way that the costumes all look, I think, is the thing that people really love about that one.
Right.
I like Queen of Blood more. I just think the general feeling around it, they did. Angelique, wouldn't you say they did great? Like, it's kind of seamless. If you didn't know that this effects footage existed, I mean, would you have even thought anything otherwise? I mean, it matches, right?
No, yeah, I had no idea. I knew nothing about this coming in. I watched it for the first time today. So I had no idea that it was found footage, It looks like they made this movie, especially the footage where, they're actually on the planet Mars and he's carrying her, that Martian sandstorm and they're on there. I was like, wow, if they did this on a soundstage, all this sand, they've got the color right, it's consistent for a schlocky 60s space vampire movie. Nailed it. Nailed it.
Yeah. It's like I would think, honestly, they couldn't have come up with anything that good. Budget or no.
Not really. That's why I mean, it makes sense on one hand that it is sci-fi. Most of the effects footage is from the Russian sci-fi film that they had. At the same time, because you look at it, you're like, yeah, the US one probably couldn't have done it on that budget because however they did. What surprised me the most in this film, and it's something that was always a hard sell, especially for these films, is the forced perspective. There are more than just one or two shots where they shot something in like a canyon and matched the matte painting up, and then it blends together to where you're seeing little people move, and they're not animated, they're people moving by the rockets and that, and it's like those are actual people. They're not animated, they're actual people, and there's parts that you could tell are real set and part that's animated, but like some of the wide shots when we get to the alien ships, and they're on the you're like, or when they're on Mars by the not Mars, the moon, when they're on the moon shots, and you have the astronauts actually walking on the surface of the moon, and it's against a matte painting, and there's only that section, but it blends so well. I'm like, this, this is in this 1966 low budget executive produced by Roger Corman. No offense to Corman, love his work, but you're like, this feels like it could go up easily against any of the bigger studio sci-fi films of the early 60s.
True. And one of my favorite painters of all time is Matt. I mean, I love pretty much all of them.
He does
Right?
a lot of work too. That's a busy person. Matt is a busy person constantly.
Matt Paintings.
Matt Painting.
.com.
So yeah, I mean, the production design and everything far better than you might expect from a film like this. I mean, the costuming. I think the costuming, and when they get to the live action, like the US sections, you can see the minimalistic approach for the budget. Right, Angelique? You can kind of see it here, but
Yeah, but then again, it was kind of typical costuming for a space movie in that time. I mean, like, think about This Island Earth. I mean, that was a big budget space movie for that time, and they had simple one-piece jumpsuits. So, I mean, Queen of Blood's not doing too bad,
It really isn't. I don't think it came across as any cheaper than anything else. Like I say, underrated movie.
It is. Though I got a kick.
Hair.
I got a hilarious.
The hair was.
The hair.
Oh yeah, when we get to the part where we're talking about the actual Queen of Blood,
yeah,
a few things to say about that.
Oh, I'm talking about Blondie.
Oh, the Blondie, yeah, Judy Meredith, Laura James.
I mean, that on point.
That's true. I liked her quite a bit. She was fabulous.
Yeah, she was great, and yeah, we'll definitely get to the characters in this. But I mean, with the sets and everything, my favorite part with their costuming was put down your visors, and they were clear. They were clear visors. Oh no, we got the sun flare because the ship is on its rescue mission. This is such a 60s story, though. We have in 1990 world peace, and everybody's working for the common goal. The moon has been a technology built on it. Of course, it's all US, but that's beside the point. They're on the moon and they're launching stuff in the moon, and they finally make contact with the aliens, and they go on this rescue mission because the aliens ship crashes on the way. And I bring this up because I wanted to get your guys' opinion. Andrew, I want to get you first. They try to imply maybe that the aliens they communicated were coming over to do a bad thing, but I almost got the impression that the female alien that we have here, the Queen of Blood, if you will,
call her a female alien,
the femme alien, the alien
Good
queen.
Movie. Yes.
Yeah, that's
lots of boobs in that.
There were not so much of this, but I was wondering, was she actually one of the aliens, or was she possibly a stowaway or whatnot that killed the aliens on the ship for her own, sustenance, and she just happened to be on a ship that crashes, like she was a stowaway? I was trying to figure that out.
Nah, dude.
No, you think she was sent on purpose?
She gets all the supplies that she needs, which means people. She's like, I'm gonna go to another planet, drink up all them.
So she was sent intentionally, you think?
I think it was just some idiot on the ship just didn't she's like, all right, I'm gonna drink all of their blood except you, because you're gonna fly the ship, because I'm and so he's like, oh man, don't drink too much, I'm trying to fly the ship. She's all like, I'm thirsty, man, can you not fly the ship? God,
What
I
a-
can't wait for one of these white people to come rescue me. I'm gonna drink all
She
this.
drank all the Capri Suns and just wandered up the beach.
That was
Is
it.
that what you think as well? But I mean, was she one of the aliens that actually contacted them, or was she a different alien that stowed
Oh,
away?
she was totally luring in the closest prey.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she needed some new juice boxes.
I don't think we need to look into this any further.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, fine. No, I was just curious because I was trying to figure out. I'm like, okay, if they contacted Earth, and maybe it's because they used the Russian footage, and there wasn't really a everybody was kind of cheering and whatnot on the planet, and I'm like, why would they be cheering if the alien queen is being sent off? But maybe that's what I'm missing, was I was comparing that footage when that maybe didn't quite fall in line with what the storyline was actually going on, because
Well, Mark, what I think you may be picking up on is something I actually seriously gave thought to. Get ready, everyone, about this Queen of Blood. That to a degree, the film had to be semi-written around what this footage was that they had. So if something's going on like people cheering, they've got to figure out what to have happen that would make people cheer. Some parts of that they did great. Other parts I'm like, what's with the back and forth? There were some things that were a little awkward. Angelique, what do you think, man? Was it a straightforward story, or did you have times going like, I don't know, dude, why?
There were, between the interception of the radio signal and then the landing of the rescue party, there was a little bit where it was like, wait a minute, wait.
Okay.
I thought y'all were going here to do this, but you're getting instructions from Basil Rathbone that make no sense. And then there's 30 minutes. What now?
Good. I'm not the only one.
I was gonna say, I feel so much better now that you said that.
And then, Blondie was super jealous about her dude being on the rescue mission. Whatever. Just, he's an astronaut. He does what he does. Relax.
Well, never mind the fact that she at first expected him to be first on the rescue mission, but then she got picked by Rathbone. So Saxon's character, Alan, actually sits back first because Laura, we find out later, is an astronaut. I like the Laura James character played by Judy Meredith.
It was, man.
She was a surprise to me. One, not only in the role that she was in, in the beginning, when we get introduced to her, you're like, oh, okay, we see how this is going to go. It's the 60s. Here's this dynamic. You've got John Saxon, he, astronaut guy, and you've got Laura, who was monitoring the radio. Okay, so she's a scientist, and then you come to find out, oh, no, wait, she's not just a scientist. She's an astronaut as well. And the veteran doctor, played by Basil Rathbone, recommended her specifically for the mission to go rescue the aliens. That I thought I was impressed with for a film of this time. Angelique, what'd you think? I mean,
oh yeah, hey, go for it, girl power.
Who can disagree?
Well, and what surprised me more with it was the reaction they had for Alan. You could almost see, oh, well, they picked you instead of me,
Yeah.
Well, I guess.
I am all that is man. What?
It is John Saxon. Okay, the man has a physique. But did that surprise you as well, the reaction they have of her astronaut boyfriend, who doesn't actually get to go on this important mission? His reaction in this, I thought, was surprising. I mean, for the time period that it is.
Yeah. I mean, is again with the story and doing a futuristic kind of deal, seeing it flipped on its head a little bit, not altogether unexpected. It was a pleasant surprise.
Right. No, I'm not saying it was wrong. I'm just for me in the 60s and that, and especially who you have, I thought that was an interesting dynamic. Andrew, what about you with this dynamic of actually Alan encouraging her and very happy for her?
Well, I gotta say, And I think this a lot about watching science fiction that that was written a long time ago, but takes place 1990,
Right.
2000. Where's all the black people? What is it that you think is going to happen? I mean, you can imagine the Queen of Blood, but you can't imagine a black person as an astronaut.
I knew you were going to be on this episode, Andrew. And when I was watching this movie for the very first time, I had that exact same question because I was trying to see it a little bit from Andrew's perspective. I can't quite get like that. It's not wrong. I was like,
it's not
wow.
just from me though, dude. It
No.
came from honestly a Richard Pryor bit, very old.
Mhm.
And he talks about having come from seeing the movies Logan's Run.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
And he's like, I see these movies and it was all white people in the future. He's like, they're not planning on having us around. That's what he said.
There's no ethnic diversity.
Yeah,
that was the exact thought I had, was like, okay, I'm digging the sci-fi, but at the same time, it is still the 60s because man, the future is white. I mean, it's like you've got kind of the girl power dynamic. She's strong. You've got that part that's great, but you're still missing that other angle of diversity. And it is 66 now. We're talking, there's a reason why Star Trek was actually considered a breakthrough sci-fi film,
and will always be.
And it will always be. Exactly. For the things they did. You could see easily where they could have done this with it, especially with the budget they have and the fact that it's Corman produced, it's a lower budget film. They could have worked more diversity into this film, even for 66, but they didn't. And I'm totally with you, Andrew. That was exactly a thought that came across my brain as well when I was watching this, going, okay, I'm digging this and the equal power between them, but
it's just,
the chicken's not seasoned.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
chicken's not seasoned.
Think of the things Twilight Zone even had done
right
by this time, and you go like, okay, just when we're talking about the imagination, like, come on, man, green people. It's not that I'm holding this movie up to a standard that's beyond its time. I hold it up to the standard of its time,
right?
Science fiction that was already being produced. And so when it comes down to them being able to imagine things like women astronauts, we hadn't even been to the moon yet, which that's a whole discussion. Like, really, the moon? That's what you think the big problem is? But it's just, you can't not notice.
Right.
You're going like, all right. So, well, these people can imagine a lot of really creative things, but that one trips them up.
That one trips a lot of movies up of this period. Absolutely. Fully, it is noticeable, especially, looking at it through you'd say even the lens back then, like you said, there was sci-fi being produced with more diversity in it. So
the best example, I mean, Angelique knows the story of Pam Grier is she was the secretary. And they're just like, shit, that's a secretary, y'all out your mind. Give her 90 movies to star in. Get out. And Pam Grier becomes an icon and a pioneer.
Right.
Sitting in the office one day, somebody with a real imagination went,
yeah, she belongs in the camera.
But outside of that, I think this film does some things that are surprising, not necessarily for sci-fi, but especially just for, maybe lower budget sci-fi and for the 60s. I mean, because not only do you have Laura James, who is a pretty strong character throughout. She doesn't really go damsel in distress or, oh, help me or whatnot at any time. And then when we finally get to the Queen of Blood, who's all dolled up like in green makeup with the red velvet suit and that hair, man, that hair. I love that hair. Her and Laura James are like the two strongest characters in the room, and you have 4 guys in there as well. And I loved it. I mean, and the alien queen is great. They don't give her lines, and I imagine it's because she's from Czech. I don't know why, maybe it's just because she's an alien too. But she says a lot expression wise, so you don't necessarily need dialogue from her. Does it surprise you, Angelique? Are you disappointed you don't get dialogue from the alien queen, or does it add more mystery and kind of, make her character that much scarier?
Well, I mean, this is again a thing with vampires. They have the mental powers, so they don't necessarily have to use their voice.
Mm-hmm.
But it would have been cool to hear the Queen of Blood speak.
Mm-hmm.
Especially get that damn needle away from me. you know,
Right.
you don't bring a, a an ambassador of a species heretofore unknown to man on board your ship, try to force them to eat something that you don't know whether their system will even tolerate. And then instead of, maybe just trying to, communicate via sound or picture or writing or anything like that, no, we're just in our blood.
Yeah. Just like now, not on one of these dipshits wearing a mask. Don't know what type of alien crud she's got. And they're like, oh, use my water bottle. See, I'll drink it, then you.
Right. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
he's got space dust in his nose, so it doesn't matter to him.
Space dust in his nose. That's
There
true.
was that part where Hopper first brings the alien queen in there, and he's trying to open his costume up, open the shield, and it won't come open. And he
Yeah.
just they totally left it in. I mean, they couldn't. It's a wide shot,
Yeah.
It's great. It's great.
There are little rough parts that they leave in that actually adds a little bit of, I think.
Yeah, keep them away from the nitrous.
Yeah. Keep them away from the nitrous.
Cutie pie back then too.
Well, him and Saxon both were. I mean, they're just young folks. I mean, they look quite younger than what we're used to seeing them in their more later films. I mean, this is Hopper from, what was it? The other film he did with the director,
Nightwish.
Nightwish. I think it was,
maybe. I don't know.
or
I do know that the woman they cast as the Queen of Blood that I read, they wanted to cast someone younger, but I think the point was they needed an older actor because there's not going to be any dialogue. It's all going to have to be emote, and you're going to need someone with more experience to do that. And I just thought she was just a knockout. Like,
she
Queen
was
of Blood,
She was awesome. I loved Florence Marley in this. Apparently, the director fought for her because Corman, go figure, wanted to hire a younger woman, someone else, and the director fought for her because he liked her work. He, as according to the trivia I read, he required that exotic quality that would work in the role. And then Dennis Hopper was with him because he'd done a couple films prior to Hopper's, with Hopper. So he came cheap, I think.
Ate him in brownies, and he brought a few of them on set.
Here's a special envelope. There you go, Hopper. There's your payment for the day.
I'm glad she didn't eat those brownies because Dems was mine.
No, that's just pixie sticks. Here you go. Take your pixie sticks into your room with you, Dennis. But no,
not to speak ill of the dead, but he used a lot of drugs.
He did back then. I mean, but yeah, let's talk about the alien queen, the Queen of Blood. Andrew, what was it that really stood out for her? I mean, you already kind of mentioned some of the things, but with her performance, what'd you just think about this character in general?
I love movies that have someone like this.
Mm-hmm.
Big fan of Nude on the Moon by Doris Wishman. Anytime, though, he gets someone. And I'm a big fan of the Species movies.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it because, they're the ominous presence. They don't build this weird, dumb creature. They don't have this sort of like animated thing. It doesn't have to be this giant thing that's attacking someone. It doesn't even have to be a virus. It's just a badass lady. So, Angelique, I love all the things you said about you don't bring the queen, someone of royalty, on the ship and start poking at her. I'm all
Yeah.
about that. I believe everyone got what they deserved, except for the Queen of Blood.
Yes,
She got a raw
except
deal, and I'm sure we'll mention it. But that was just like, this is not what Cronenberg would have had happen.
I know
Yeah.
Cronenberg would definitely not have that happen.
No.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, she is the queen. Though she doesn't have any lines, you bring her to the room once she wakes up, once she's awake. This is an intimidating individual, you know. And what's interesting is she's got all the guys dumb because true vampire form. She looked at it. I love that scene too. I love the minute she wakes up, she's like, "Oh, I see guys," and she's like, gives them the old eye treatment, and they're doing the old vampire mojo Jojo, you know, on it, and they're like, you know, and then Laura James comes in and looks at her like, "What the fuck you doing?"
I'll get another syringe.
Yeah, I'll get another syringe. Don't you love that? This is supposed to be an ambassador. Supposedly, they don't know she's done bad things right now. They first bring her into the room. She's supposed to be an ambassador, and
Oh, stop. You said she's not doing bad things. I'm sorry. She's from another planet. Just because she feeds on blood doesn't mean she's doing a bad thing.
okay, you're right. It's in her
She
nature.
is
That's
doing
just
what
her.
is
Yes.
natural. She's
Okay.
not a regular Dracula.
No, that's true.
She
Okay.
is an alien.
She is an
She's
alien.
a
This is
space Dracula. They're different.
Space Dracula. Yes.
Yeah,
Hey,
don't they say just like, hey, she's a vampire. Why don't we just waste her? And they're like, dude, no.
And the battle rat's all really excited about it.
He's like,
"Oh, no,
are you
she's a
kidding
vampire."
me? Just because she may kill us all, you asshole.
You all can die. Just land the ship.
That's
I
right.
love Dr. Faraday. You've got plasma on board. Don't you just feed her that?
No one will actually need that. Just no one do anything dangerous.
Right.
Get away from that tape dispenser.
You really just make small boo-boos.
Yes.
That's right. No plasma requiring injuries are allowed.
Orbit.
Well, they were on their way back. I mean, the minute they get her, they're like, okay, let's head on back.
I mean, it seemed like it was going to work out.
Know, they do ditch the one guy, you know. They're like
2 weeks.
2 weeks. I love that.
We got this, man. We got the plasma.
Don't eat too much. What? Eat
Because
what? There's nothing on this. Where?
Because, folks, as we mentioned, Alan doesn't initially go up with the first group that goes for the rescue, but they decide to send a second group up. And he's on that crew, and they end up landing on Phobos, and then they end up finding the alien rescue ship on the planet, on the moon, not on Mars, actually, where they thought it was. So that's where he finds the alien queen, but only 2 can go in the pod. So they flip a coin.
Oh, that scene, dude.
What about it? Oh, let's talk about that scene, because
it's nothing to say except for it. They had to decide they couldn't bring everybody back. So, obviously the movie star is not going to lose that coin toss.
Right?
It's Red Shirt that's going to lose.
It's Red
and
Shirt.
So Red Shirt, he has a period of time there where he's thinking he's just stuck in fuck space forever. And when they finally call him to tell him, hey, you know what's going to work out? We're going to get you. He's like, oh. Like all these Twinkie wrappers. Did you eat everything? No.
Yeah, I love that they tell him
them.
They tell him, oh, you should be fine. You should be fine for a couple weeks. Just eat light. And he's just like, sure. Okay.
He's watching all the porn. I mean, he's just.
Well, I love how he spent his time too, because
screw a tribble.
Screw it a tribble. Because you got Alan, he goes, all right, so he takes the alien queen with him to the surface with, they crash land the pod and all that, and we mentioned about that, the great desert scene and everything. So this dude's back on Phobos, and he's like, you know what, while I'm here, I think I just go get some soil samples or whatnot.
I'm not going to let anybody know that
He's not gonna tell him.
I'm not
He's
gonna
like,
let anybody know that I'm going outside. I'm just
I'm
gonna
looking
go.
for all the mushrooms, y'all.
Right.
he's getting
I-
soil samples, and they're calling him, and they think he's died already. They're like, Paul, 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 and they're getting worried. And all of a sudden, Paul just comes in with his little vials of dirt. He's like,
He's like,
"What's up,
"What?"
man?" He's like, "What's going on?" "Holy shit, man! I thought you died." He's like, "Nah, I figured I'll be here for a while, so I figured I'd get some soil samples."
Yeah, I thought you guys were leaving. Why are you calling me?
Psych. I filled Steve's pockets with communism. Joke's on you, Jack.
Wait till he gets back home. So you feel for that guy who's gonna supposedly be out there for 2 weeks if they don't forget him. You know, but again, there's another moment. There's moments like that in this writing that actually have a little bit of weight to them for a campy whatever film that people may take this for. There's some scenes with weight. That's one of them where they actually handle it very fairly seriously of, well, we can only fit 2 and she's going, so that means you or I. And they actually have, decent dialogue. It's not they're like debating in and it's just the way it's handled. And maybe I'm off. But it's just the way it's handled. And there's a few other scenes too, like when the Dr. Faraday is explaining to him, no, don't kill the queen. This is just what she does for sustenance. We can't blame her for it. We can blame her for being pissed because he said, oh, go take her blood. Here, she's a guest, an alien. And the first thing we're going to do is start, and then they mentioned too something about the fact of, oh, when she gets back, we'll study her. And I'm like, this is not a way to start relations with an alien life form is, oh, thanks for sending us the ambassador. We're going to just do a little old alien vivisection.
Plus, man, I mean, we didn't know it at the time, but even just the slightest like scrape from that needle, that shit would have been over. So of course she's all like,
yeah. Well, obviously
she let them take her helmet off personally, but whatever.
To show off that hair, that wicked hair. I love that hairdo too.
Worth the risk.
It's worth the risk. Well, and her helmet was designed to encompass that hair too. Let's not forget. I mean, it was
the Queen's helmet.
The Queen's helmet, yeah.
Gonna accentuate that treasure troll coif.
Yeah, man. It's like, oh, which helmet was mine?
I loved her character though. She was a great character. Even though she doesn't show up till like the last half hour, everything she does and the way she looks at everybody, and she just like, I'm gonna feed on you first.
Can we talk about the laser eyes?
Yeah, the laser eyes. Yes, by all means. Yes.
Yeah, not only can she hypnotize men, because women don't matter to the Queen of Blood.
Nope.
No. Whatever. She's got fantastic hair. She gives the best face ever. But she can escape bondage with laser eyes. They try to tie her down to keep her fed on the plasma bags or whatever, which no self-respecting vampire, space or otherwise, is going to tolerate that. No, they want the good stuff. Burns her ropes with her eyes, and it's fantastic. And it's really legit good special effects on the eyes. Like, Village of the Damned, the kids' eyes. Those were decent. But this is like steps above those. I don't know how they did it.
They shine a light into the eye.
I was wondering if it was that they actually did shine a light from the side into her eye.
Yeah, 2 very small, very focused lights get shined into the eyes.
That couldn't be pleasant.
But when Angelique starts talking about the effects, particularly as in relation to the Queen, I thought of immediately the close-up shot they have where they pan down from the actor and her wrist with the actual body burn on it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, hand obviously coated in Kentucky jelly or whatever it is they use.
Right.
But she had these weird gloves on the whole time that were shiny.
Right.
So I don't know if that was, to keep.
She's actually on fire.
to keep
Yeah.
continuity.
The
But
actor
that's
is on fire.
but yeah, no, that rope was legit on fire on her arm.
Mm-hmm.
Looked
You know,
great.
I
Which-
paused it. I was like, is it a mannequin? Is it a mannequin? I don't think it's a mannequin.
Now you know that
Yeah.
lady let them set her arm on fire. She's
Oh.
like, I'm an actor. I wanted. She's telling James Whitman, that's right. I wanted to be nude with my arm on fire.
and Rathbone's like, I wish they'd set my arm on fire.
Set my arm on fire too. God damn it.
Rathbone's like,
nude.
I'm a trained actor. I could handle being set on fire.
That's
Just
right.
don't
No
set
one told me we were setting fires.
Quick, write me a scene where I'm on fire.
That's right. I'm not taking lunch. Fire now.
Fire.
Damn it.
And speaking of nude, she feeds in the nude.
She got that poison ivy bodysuit.
We gotta go nude because we're talking 66 here. They were trying not to go, but it is implied nude because it is a green bodysuit.
Matches her paint.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Queen of Blood, no butt crack. That's how you know it's an alien.
No butt crack is an alien. That's right.
Like
What
they
do you need
said,
it for?
was it Star Trek 5?
Mhm.
Just because he's a humanoid doesn't mean he has human anatomy.
That's right.
Good ass point right there.
It is. It is a good ass point.
About an ass.
But no,
Point about the ass.
it was interesting because of the film, and the time it was made. I think they do the implied nudity actually very well because it's a vampire film, and vampires are associated with sexuality quite a bit, and especially her. I mean, the guys are all like, when she drops the Dracula mojo on him, though she didn't have to. I mean, they were all like, anyway, before she even opened her eyes. Yeah, she drops, but they can't do full nude, but they do imply not only just with the full bodysuit, which we eventually see, but with the way they play with the shadows, like her silhouette, because she's not wearing the actual the red velvet outfit that she had before, but the silhouette is the implied nudity. You can tell that there were some kids watching this, some teenagers watching this back in the day in the theater going, oh man, she's nude, and maybe she's not, but their brains are already there. Didn't have to show it. Their brains were already there.
It didn't take much back then, homie.
Well, not really
for them
no.
to be all like,
Yeah,
boners for green babes.
But at the
Keep
same
talking
time,
about it.
but what I love about it is at the exact same time, they got the idea across without actually doing it, which I was impressed with, in all honesty. I mean, we're talking, again, 60s, low budget, but they imply it, but don't actually show it, but you know what they're going for.
Mhm.
They give some credit to the audience. And that's what I love is the fact of, we're going to shoot this in such a way that it's going to spark this in your brain. We know it's going to.
And the good thing about it is it's not pointless.
Right.
We find out why
Mhm.
she was naked once they get back to Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why
Basil Rathbone is, don't take lunch, set my dong on fire.
Oh, she set her wrist on fire. I'll set my
Dong.
testicles on fire. Yeah.
Laminate my testicles immediately.
Gel them babies up and let them fly.
I shall be immolated or I shall leave this picture.
Leave this picture forthwith.
Which was a great which was a great twist at the end. Personally, I love the egg bit because we get the confrontation. She's aced nearly all the men on the ship. She's working her way on Alan when Laura comes up and says, "Get your hands off my man." And the queen's like, "Yeah, I'm not done feeding." And she accidentally scratches the queen, and the queen goes running off with a wonderful scream. Oh my God. It was like, holy crap. There was a scream, and it actually sent a little chill down my spine. I'm like, wow. And then she disappears. They're like, well, what the hell happened now? And then they find her dead because she was dun dun dun. She was a hemophiliac, which
she has sex with blood.
Which automatically means she's royalty.
Yeah, I love that. I love that conclusion, though. You gotta love the science in this film of how they just conclude things. Oh, well, she's a hemophiliac. Well, that's associated with royalty. Maybe she was a queen. No, maybe nah, she wasn't. And then they get to Earth and there's these eggs everywhere. And
Eggs, pulsating jelly egg sacs, and they are fan frickin' tastic.
They are.
Everywhere in the guts of the ship,
just chilling in a bed of jello.
they looked wonderful. When they showed up, I was like, those are awesome. And Ackerman, who, if you're not familiar, he was in many a film and also ran a museum of wonderful props. May he rest in peace. But he was in many a cult sci-fi film and horror film.
The creator of Famous Monsters of Filmland.
Yep. Famous Monsters of Filmland. And he was the one carrying the tray of the pulsating eggs, which
they had to stop his ass from trying to eat them too.
Oh, did they?
It's like, I'm gonna pocket one of these and take them to the Acker Mansion.
One of these would look great in a jar on my shelf. No, you can't, Ackerman. What are you talking about? What are you doing? No, I'm not doing anything. Put that back.
What's already in my ass is my business.
It's my prison pocket.
My prison pocket. There you go, Mark.
I got my egg in my prison pocket.
That's right.
It's interesting. It's shot in, was it Pathé color? I believe that's the way it was presented, in Pathé color. I almost got the feeling like this was intended for black and white. I don't know what the way the colors are and the sets are. I mean, Andrew, what do you think? You think maybe they intended for it to be a black and white instead of color, or was it always?
Nah, not when you're making a green lady. Can't do it, man. And plus, dude, a lot of old movies that look corny, or even new movies that look corny, turning the color down will help you greatly. So if they wanted to go the cheap route, they would have made it black and white, because it would have matched. It would have been easier to mask the fact that they got all that Russian stuff.
Right.
But I think they put all their extra money, because they didn't have to spend it on effects, or rather all those big effects. They put it really, I feel like, into the costume and lighting. I mean, they had a little bit of a challenge to meet by the quality of that stuff. So Corman wasn't gonna be like, what? I didn't buy a black and white movie. I bought a color movie. Y'all gonna make it color, fools. When you're done, light my dong on fire.
And Bassel's like, me first.
Me first. I'll leave it. What is it? I'll leave this picture.
And then Hopper's like, did somebody set something on fire or what?
There's no more dongs. I smoked them.
Around with a blowtorch. Right? Who's getting immolated today?
I got a lighter.
No fair making my autobiography, man. I own that story.
But yeah, I mean, you're right about the color. They did have a challenge, especially with the green makeup, because again, and we brought up Star Trek, and I bring it up again because Star Trek came out the same year, 1966. And you had the Orion slave girl. And we all know the story with the Orion slave girl.
I don't know it. What's the story?
Oh, you don't know? In Star Trek, one of the, I think it was first season, they had an Orion slave girl. I forgot who played her, but it was a very talented actress. But they shot the scene, but she's Orion, and Orions are green.
Yeah, and I've seen the pictures.
Yeah, and so she was painted all green. Well, they got the footage, the dailies, to the film developer, and he thought something was wrong with the film, so he color corrected the green to skin color. So they get the dailies back, and they're like, oh, we didn't put enough green paint on her. So they put more green paint on her and had her do the scene again. Sent the film off. Guy thinks there's a problem with the film again. Color corrects it again. I forgot how many times it was they did it, but I think it was like 3 times before they're like, no, she's supposed to be green. Meanwhile, she's had this stuff just pasted on her, put on her many, many times, darker and darker shades.
Somebody finally accidentally left a Mountain Dew can in the shot, and they're like, oh,
I see.
What assholes we've been.
But yeah, so you had that happen. So at least here, the green makeup that they put on her, I think it looks good, for her.
Mhm.
It does, dude.
It blends well. The design, like we said, the hairstyle and everything, it matches, it feels, and it fits the Art Deco spaceships that she was in, because we are talking 60s. And man, Angelique, what do you think? I mean, you've consumed early horror in 60s and 50s stuff. In all honesty, I look at the stuff today, and this is no offense to some of the wonderful modern sci-fi. I don't think any era like the late 50s and especially the 60s captured an alien feel like those Art Deco and that avant-garde
No.
type style. What would you say?
If your spaceship doesn't look like a conversation pit, don't talk to just I want a coffee table with a giant crystal floating on top of it. I want flashing lights. I want theremin. That's what I
Something with a half circle, some kind of
yeah,
sphere somewhere.
esoteric dials and knobs, screens with wildly fluctuating nothing. Just give it to me. Give it to me. Giant view screens everywhere. I don't want a cockpit.
You definitely don't get that here. I mean, the guys, even the pilot of the alien ship has this weird antenna, like half visor thing
Yeah, give
on
me a
his,
VR helmet
you
and a
know.
standing. Yes, I'm flying a ship right now. That's what I want. It's science fiction. Go there. We're gonna believe you because we have nothing to measure it against. So,
That's the thing. It did. I think some of the sci-fi today, and maybe it's because of the viewing audience. Would you say, maybe, Andrew, some of the sci-fi today, the designs, people have to, well, it's got to be logical and how to work and everything. But I think it works better when you have stuff like in the 60s where they don't explain shit of how it works. This is just there visually.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
I
you?
don't care about world building. I don't care about
Mm.
explanations. I don't really like it when things make sense. Not a
Mhm.
fan. But just as we talk about sci-fi pre-Star Wars and just
Mhm.
how that changed everything, and
Right.
something was gained, but something absolutely was lost. I think the same can be said for sci-fi done prior to the actual NASA moon landing
Mhm.
and the Apollo program and all that, because we like Angelique says, we have nothing to measure it against, and that's a
Right.
great point to make, because we don't know, so we are then free to imagine anything, and all bets are off. That's a really kind of an innocence and a naivety, which you just naturally can't go back to once you're. And so, thank goodness for people like Mobius or
Mhm.
Corey or what is it, Heavy Metal Magazine.
Yeah. Mhm.
I mean, these people kind of kept this sort of imagination alive in an age where you know um, the idea of what space looked like was pretty much like laid out, and what a
Mhm.
space movie had to be was pretty much laid out. And so, no, I do agree. I don't know about best, but I will say, this is that, because Species 2 is
Mhm.
to me the best. But like, um, yeah, there's nothing like it, and they
Yeah.
can't possibly be,
Mhm.
and there wasn't again.
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily best, but interesting, visually interesting sci-fi came from this period of
When did
you
Fantastic
know,
Planet? When was that done? Because that's still to
uh
me one of the best.
Fantastic Planet's a fantastic film, lack of a
Yeah.
better term.
I just can't remember if it's 60s or 70s. I wanted to say 70s, or maybe even, you know.
Fantastic Planet was 73,
Okay.
and that's a wonderful animated film. I love that. Wow, that one, we covered that on the show here,
We did.
for an
Again, pre Star Wars, but
animated
still,
film. Right.
this was
You,
this was something that heavy metal would then pick up. I mean, it feels very much like something out of heavy metal. Metal Hurlant.
you make a really good point on how Star Wars, and even to a certain effect, maybe even Star Trek, contributed to how space would end up being defined, how things and ships would be defined. Whereas before all that, and even before the lunar landing, you'd get more abstract things. And I loved heavy metal. My dad got Heavy Metal magazine, and I was too young, but I still read it because the animation, the art is mind blowing to me. It's like
lots of boobs.
well, there was boobs, yes. Okay, I was young. Part of the reason but on the other hand,
No problem.
The fantastic world that they were in, though, were also just as imagination sparking as the normal hormonal reason for reading it. But the world and stuff around it as well. It was abstract. It didn't necessarily fall in line with what became the standard sci-fi, which is the standard of what you still see today.
True.
Ships still are upright. They still are your uniform. You got a bridge, you've got control panels the way they are. Whereas in a film like Queen of Blood, I have no idea how that ship flew, but those aliens flew it, so mad props to them.
It's almost like fiction.
It is. Well said, Andrew. You are far deeper man than I am. I am a puddle, and you are a lake. But yeah,
of cheer wine.
Of cheer wine. But I've got the steel book on the other side of the Krutchik family video shelf here, of A Battle Beyond the Stars. You look at that and some of the stuff that they came up with that. Now, granted, it's later, afterwards, but still some of the aliens that you have in a flying saucer, where you think, okay, generic flying saucer, but these aliens have a certain number of pilots, and they all serve a purpose. And then one of them dies. They got to start moving, control panels so that they could all still keep the ship upright and fly it, because each person, and I'm like, that's cool. That's different,
Yeah. Battle Beyond the Stars, Sybil Danning.
Oh yeah.
Remember her Amazon Women on the Moon? Men, how pathetic.
But I miss the really abstract sci-fi sometimes. I really do, just because talk about giving your idea of an alien world. Queen of Blood has it. To bring it back around to Queen of Blood, you look at that world. I know it's Russian, it was a Russian sci-fi film, but even there, who cares where it came from? You look at it going, that feels alien. I mean, you can't just have a human go, oh, this is the comm panel, and this is the altitude, and this will get us launch up. No, if a human walks into that ship, right, Angelique, you walk into that ship, there's no way you're going to control that thing, are you?
Right. Yeah. It's like Sphere. That was the one thing about Sphere I really liked, is that they could, some things looked familiar, but it was alien enough for them to go, I don't know what the heck. That's just it. Again, go for it.
Mm-hmm. And
strange land, man.
I'd love to see that in a movie where the hero gets into an alien ship and they're just like, come on, Bill, you know how to fly this thing. Here's a try. And then just explodes. I think I got it.
That'd be awesome. Let's see. I think this is the start button. He chose poorly.
That was a good one, Mark.
Thank you.
Really good deep cut.
It's a deep cut there, folks. So there, Queen of Blood. Andrew, your final thoughts with Queen of Blood?
Well worth watching, man. Like we said, this type of science fiction just was at a certain point not ever made again. And it's not because this stuff is no good. It's just the audience expectations are then, there's a whole other bar for it. And why that was warranted. Love Star Wars. Love Star Trek. Not really on the fence about whole landing on the moon thing, but it's still, I would put it beyond like the whole like charm factor or the camp factor,
Mhm.
and look at what people actually were kind of able to achieve with how little they really knew. And not go like, oh, this was kind of prescient. Oh, wow, I can't believe they kind of thought this before things. That's one way people like to look at it. But what I like to look at is this shit is bananas. They didn't know any better. That's why it's great.
Exactly. Angelique, what about you? Your final thoughts with Queen of Blood?
Gosh, I almost can't say it any better. I mean,
I
this
know.
is just, it's one of those, it's almost a feel good movie, really, when you watch it. Because, I mean, it does just make you very happy in a way to see something made just with almost reckless abandon. You know what? We're going to grab, knowing what I know now, these pieces of this Russian movie, we're going to cobble something around it. Come here, Dennis. Just stand up straight for 30 minutes. Say these words. We're going to be okay. All right, you're green. Get in here. Let's make a movie and just put something together that is not only cohesive, but it has really good effects. It has excellent makeup and just a fun story that has an ending that could have made a sequel. I mean,
actually, she did make a sequel.
She made her own.
Alien Queen actor Florence Marley made a 16mm sequel to Queen of Blood titled Space Boy Night in 1973.
no way.
I would hope that movie picked up right before what should have been an insane like trip to Fist City cat fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I hope she's like, okay, now here's that third act for your ass.
Oh man, seeing Laura and the Queen go like major toe to toe, like give her some like Black Widow type of choreography fight between these two,
or maybe just some Pam Grier,
or just Pam Grier,
Yeah.
or just some
suddenly
basic...
there's mud in the floor of the spaceship.
Now I'm thinking about the pulsating eggs. We don't know the gestation period for these things. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Squidbillies, but if you ever saw the Dracula episode of Squidbillies, when Early lays all the eggs and then all of a sudden the Dracula babies come exploding out.
Oh
and
man,
everybody
I just think
dies.
a space egg fight would have been cool. She's like, oh yeah, bitch. Well, I'm throwing your egg.
I'm throwing your eggs. Kind of an
Like
aliens
the-
type of thing. Only instead of torching the eggs, she just picks them up and starts smashing them on the ground.
like
That's
a
right.
Three Stooges cream puff fight, only with alien eggs.
Eggs. There you go.
What might have been.
What might have been, but in any case, I agree with both of you. You both said it very well. Not much to add outside of watch this film, but don't go into it thinking you're going to just get a cheesy, campy sci-fi film. This is a decent, straight up sci-fi film that has less camp than you might think. It does still have that sci-fi moral messages in here about, not so much as in the Griswold summary of and then the humans, you don't have that type, but if you see what the story is going for and what they do and the different people and how they react and what perspective they're bringing, whether or not it's due to a limited budget or not, it's still there. You've got the guys who go gaga for the alien queen, Laura, thinking something's up. You've got the doctor who's saying, don't kill her, even though she feeds on you guys and she just killed one of you. Don't kill her because this is just the way she is. Underlying all of that, there are these little bits and pieces that we seen in especially sci-fi even today, but especially back then, that look into humanity. Here's how humans are. Oh, look, we've got an alien. Let's jab her with something. Let's not bother talking to her. Let's not bother communicating with her. No, we're going to take her blood while she's out.
That's right. Keep your laws off my alien body. Fuck
That's
face.
right. There you go. So I recommend it. Yeah, especially if you're looking for some decent mid-60s sci-fi, this is one of the better ones. It was better than I thought it was going to be, for sure. With some talented people some of them early in their careers, some of them in the twilight of their careers, but you'll recognize some faces in here. So yeah, there you have it, folks. Queen of Blood, far better than I thought it was going to be, and a lot less campy. And I'm going to watch it again sometime because this is really in the vein of some of those other more serious 50s sci-fi that we used to get.
Yeah, I know. I'd seen it before, and I was happy to rewatch. I enjoyed this movie.
Well, I appreciate you doing the rewatch, Andrew. And speaking of, we're going to start with you first, give you the license to shill, sir. I know you have some things to shill. I've got a couple of your films up here on the shelf so
Thanks,
people
Mark.
can see. So please, the license to shill is yours, sir.
Thanks. Well, first I want to say it was a pleasure to speak to both of you. It's been far too long since we've had this particular room. And so, and for Glenn, who couldn't make it, I would love to be able to mix it up with Glenn sometime. Yeah, my friends and I here in Athens, Georgia, make our own movies. Right now, you can buy vampire movies and space movies at gonzorific.com. We've got Bad Girl Dracula and Space Boobs in Space. Space Boobs in Space showed up on Plex recently. So if you've got that streaming channel, you can watch Space Boobs in Space. But yeah, our latest movie is called Areola Jones and the Home Video Vixens. That is available on, Mark got one of the only Blu-rays. I think he got the last Blu-ray.
I get the last Blu-ray.
These are all collector's editions. But anyway, if you live in or near the Athens, Georgia area, November 12th and 13th, 2021 is our 20th anniversary film screening at Athens Cine on Hancock Avenue.
There you go. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. And always a pleasure to have you in the spoiler room. Angelique, please, license to shill is yours, my friend.
Well, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok occasionally. You can find me at monstersmadnessandmagic.com. We've got a lot of stuff going on over there. You might even find Mark over there. He's got some things cooking too. Got a lot of exciting podcasts coming up, so have a listen at those. You can also check out monstermovielandmagazine.com. That is a new print magazine that is scheduled to come out later this fall. The first issue they're hoping to put out by October 1st. There's currently an Indiegogo that you can find on the site there. But I've got an article in it. A few other people I know have articles in it. So hopefully we can get that actually out into your hot little hands. So
that's so cool, man.
That is so very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And if you're at all interested in anything else I do, which is not much, we do have a merch store. We've in case you're wondering, over at Teespring, if you just search for SMP merch, we've got Spoiler Room merch, we've got Final Cut merch, and Special Mark Productions merch, shirts, all that fun, happy stuff. We got a Patreon as well. You can check those out. Join the tier for very reasonable prices. I'm on TikTok as well. I brought back my Movie Man's Movie Minutes, and some of them do really good, some of them don't, but it's a 1-minute movie review of wide release films because that's about as much time as I give most wide release films. Yeah, and a lot of other things as well. We've got a linked tree now. Oh, and I've got to mention it, folks who are tuning in, please go to specialmarkproductions.com. And if you go there, there's a link, HO88. Next year, our theme this year has been cannon fodder. Next year is the horror of 1988. We will be covering the horror films of 1988 we haven't covered here. And you get to decide what 12 films we're going to review by doing the poll. It's an anonymous poll. You just follow the link, fill in the blanks. I get sent the results. I don't know who does it. And I tally them. And at the end of November, we will have our list of 12 horror films from 1988 that we'll be covering next year for our special series, The Horror of 1988. So please check that out. We've gotten some great responses. I'd love to see a whole lot more because let me tell you, it's a fierce battle right now amongst some of those horror films. So,
man, it's too bad there's not a movie, Ho 88.
Ho 88. Well, there you go. There's an idea for a film, Andrew. Ho 88.
The search for Ho 87.
The search for 087.
Sounds like a good spy movie.
That does. Well, I thank you all. Thank you, Angelique. Thank you, Andrew. And now we'll just say good night, everyone.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone.